Next up we have, that's my dad, so I'll take it. Next up we have Dr. Cubitt coming up to speak, and she asked me what do I want her to talk about, and my thought was, she has been around DAC longer than I've been around DAC, but we've become really close on constantly working on the little things to better each DAC product and DAC in general. And so I said, let's talk on the top 5 products at DAC and why they are the top 5. My dad just mentioned the oil changing and being part of that, being the continued top edge. So I think it'll be really good to have Tania come up here and speak and the top 5 and why they are the top 5. So we'll turn it over to Tania. Thank you.
Thanks, RJ. And the first question I always ask is, can everybody hear me okay? Yep. Never usually a problem. I want to thank Jenny again for that awesome presentation. I've listened to her speak a couple of times, and I knew that it would be the right speaker for this group. It was great. So thank you again. So top 5 and why. In the last couple of years, when we get the survey back, people have asked, we want a little bit more product training. So I said, RJ, what are we going to talk about? Well, top 5 really was the top 6 when he said there's actually 6. And I didn't want to change the title because top 5 and why sounded better than top 6 and why. So I'm going to give you 6. Everyone wants a little extra for free, so you got the top 6. Oil. You will be happy that even though we made some significant changes with the oil formulation, it has stayed the #1 seller. The DDA, or the DAC Digestive Feed Additive, the Orange Superior, the Breeder's Choice Plus, the Cool Gut, which I'm proud of that. That was one of the products that I developed with Dr. Duran when we came on board, and the Bloom. And we'll go in a little bit of detail into each one, and then at the end, why I think these are the top 5 products. So I just also want to point out, new people don't love to be pointed out, but I overheard there's a lady at the table in front of where I was sitting, and someone asked her, how long have you been selling DAC? And she said a month. And she's here at DAC Days. She's going to be exceptional. She's already committed to come to DAC Days. And whoever invited her and got her to come along, kudos to you. Because what they were saying earlier about the education that you receive and just being able to see all these people and mingle with all these people, it is the growth that people that come to this meeting is exponential. So kudos to you for coming. So we'll start with the oil. The main key elements to the oil. And if you've got a catalog in front of you, open up your catalog. We have gone through, I painstakingly go through all the information that we put in that catalog. That is an educational tool. We want you to be able to use that information to help you, especially for new people. If you're not that sure about the products, or there might be key elements that you just weren't that sure on how to describe or remember, then the catalog, these key features are on the pages. So why do we feed oil to horses? Weight gain is probably the #1 reason why people feed oil to horses. I'm seeing faithfuls that come every year nodding, agreeing. Coat shine. Horses that suffer from disorders, muscle disorders like tying up, maybe you use the term azoturia, where they get really sore muscles, can benefit from changing the calories from our corn or oats or even barley to a higher fat diet. So we have a lot of buggy horses that do suffer from these muscle disorders, and the oil is really beneficial for them. When we changed the formulation, we increased the amount of natural vitamin E that we put in the product. If you've heard me before, and the City Barbecue is out there, and I tell you, the reason why I come to this meeting every year is actually City Barbecue. It's so good. And I've got 25 minutes and 37 seconds left, so we're going to go through this. You've heard me talk about vitamin E and how absolutely critical it is to horses. So everywhere we could put it in a product, we have, because we know in our modern horses, they really don't get enough vitamin E. And then I heard Randy also mention one of the key kind of light bulbs that said, okay, I'm gonna believe them, the omega-3s. Omega-3 fatty acids are really important for horses, and so we improved the ratio of omega-3 fatty acids. So just a little bit more in detail. So weight gain. 2 cups of oil has the same calories, so energy, as about 4.5 pounds of oats. 2 cups of oil, about 6 pounds of alfalfa. 2 cups of oil, if you chose beet pulp, it's about 5 pounds of dry beet pulp. Everybody who's fed beet pulp, know you're going to wet it, and that's going to be quite a lot of beet pulp. So you can see that it's very calorie dense. Pretend this was oil. It's not going to take up a lot of space in your horse's feed bucket, right? Coat shine. That is a diagram of the horse's hair, of anyone's hair coming out. So there is, I think that's the pointer. That thing there, that's a sebaceous gland. That's a fat gland, right? And the oil, when you feed oil to a horse, it will make sure that those fat glands are full. And what happens is that fat then will produce this kind of thin coating on the hair that comes out of the skin. Horse in the wild, well, that's going to make sure that they don't get rain. The rain doesn't cause fungus or anything like that. In our show horse, when the light shines on that oil that is coating the hair, it's going to reflect off and your horse is going to look beautiful. Of course, you got to keep brushing them, keep the dust off them, but that is why oil is really good for coat shine. We mentioned the tying up and how those horses, a lot of those horses can't utilize the sugars and starches that we're getting from, say, corn or oats or barley. And so we put them on high amounts of oil, 2 cups maybe a day, and we're taking away some of those other ingredients that we were using for energy. The natural vitamin E, we've got 2,000 IUs of natural vitamin E per pound. So a pound is a little over 2 cups, right? The omega-3s, there's a lot of different omega-3s. There's ALA, there's DHA, and EPA. ALA, you can see, it's not actually that useful to the horse. You get that from a lot of your plant sources like flax and chia and hemp. It's the DHA and EPA, which are really beneficial for brain function, for anti-inflammatory, any function in the body I can really relate to omega-3s. The ALA has to get converted to EPA and DHA. That conversion's not great, so in the DAC oil, we put some marine sources, some straight DHA into that product. This isn't the DAC oil, but just pretend it is, okay? This is shampoo. Do not feed this to your horse. There is a story, and I love this story, and because I was showing the shampoo, this is the whole education thing. And Randy told this story, and I was like, there is no way that's true, and it is true. And it's why I really like working with DAC, because they really focus on the education. And they've got a great money-back guarantee, and a lady called, and she was very disappointed. The oil made her horse look terrible. And, okay, well, we'll get Randy to talk to her. Right? And he said, well, ma'am, how much are you feeding? She said, I'm not feeding it. I'm putting it on a rag and I'm wiping it on the horse. Okay, we did a bad job of educating that customer on how to properly use the oil. So make sure that we're always educating you on how to use these products properly. So we'll move on from the oil because I don't have a lot of time. The DAC digestive feed additive. Everybody that is familiar with DAC has heard of the DDA, right? Yep, everybody familiar with DDA. It improves digestion. It supports the microbes that live in the gut. Usually I always start with talking about the digestive system. You've heard it before, but you know that there is trillions of bugs that live in the horse's gut and they control the horse, and we really need to keep those healthy. So the DDA is helping do that. It's got a mycotoxin binder in it. Horses are very sensitive to toxins that come from mold, unlike our cattle that are pretty unsensitive and pretty stoic. Horses, any kind of toxin in their environment, and it's not great. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing in a product that we're feeding daily. So the DAC digestive feed additive, I recommend every horse eat this daily so that we're able to avoid those issues. Get daily gut support, just like you eating yogurt every day to support your gut health. It has probiotics, prebiotics, and a fancy term, postbiotics. I think you've heard us talk about those in the past when we've incorporated new products like the GI Pro 3. The integral is the mycotoxin binder, the probiotics, which are healthy bugs, so the gut is full of healthy bugs, and probiotics are by definition live microorganisms that we put in to help populate those healthy bugs. And that is, one of those is yeast sac that's in there. The prebiotics, that's food for the bugs, right? There's an ingredient called moss that we put in the DDA, and then the postbiotics, the GI Pro 3 could be considered one of those. So you've heard me over the last 2 years at DAC Days talk about GI Pro 3. If you're new to DAC Days, we're not going to go into GI Pro 3 too much right now. You can please come talk to me after, because I know there's just so much information that you will hear today, and it's hard to kind of take it on all on board. But there was an issue in the industry that a lot of commercially available probiotic supplements were not actually alive, so we worked with the Kemin team to develop a product that was going to arrive alive, and it was also going to combat very common disorders in horses that we typically need drugs to deal with. So it will, by releasing compounds that target these bad bugs, by stopping communication between bad bugs. The bad bugs we're talking about are this Clostridia, which causes diarrhea, Rhodococcus, which is your respiratory disorders, and then Streptococcus, which will cause strangles, and Salmonella. I would be hard-pressed to find somebody that there's nobody in this room that has ever had a horse that's had diarrhea. No one's going to put their hand up, right? These are very common issues that we see in horses, and that's why we developed this product with this particular strain of 3 strains of probiotics that were going to deal with these particular bugs. The Orange Superior. So we've talked about oil being a calorie source, extra calories, some coat shine. We've talked about the DDA being one of our daily digestive health supplements. Now, there are other digestive health supplements that we have, but that is our top seller because every horse, every day, should eat the DDA. And now we're into our vitamins and minerals. Really, the foundation of DAC was selling vitamins and minerals. The Direct Action was the original vitamin and mineral. The Orange Superior, I think it's in this list because it can broadly be fed across many age categories, disciplines. You got a wide variety of animals in your barn. The Orange Superior can be fed to all of them. Vitamins and minerals that are balanced specific to adult horses. We don't necessarily recommend that you feed this to juveniles. We've got other products for that, but to adult horses. It will complement a straight grain diet. So maybe you grow your own corn, oats, and you're feeding hay and using those grains. It will complement that diet, but it will also complement if you're buying a commercial concentrate, but you're not quite feeding it to the recommendations on the bag. I've actually got a couple of examples, and the next slide. Organic minerals. Again, I don't have a lot of time to go over these individual terms that I'm using here, but you've heard me talk about organic or chelated minerals. It's a way of making these minerals more bioavailable to the animal so that what you're paying for is actually having the best ability to be utilized by the animal and you're not just making expensive manure. All right, so we take these inorganic minerals that come out of the ground and we attach an organic substance. We attach a protein or an amino acid complex to it, and we feed that to the animal, and in doing that, it more mimics how they would see it in nature, in pasture. So it's more natural for the horse to absorb that and better absorption. So we have organic minerals in all of our mineral formulas, but that really sets us apart. Organic selenium, slightly different. You take yeast, which is a tiny, tiny plant, and you grow it on a bed of that inorganic selenium that you mined out of the ground, and the yeast absorbs that selenium and now you're feeding this selenium-infused yeast to the horse. What a horse is meant to eat, plants, not rocks, so it's much more bioavailable to the animal. Again, 100% natural vitamin E. We've got probiotics and GI Pro 3 in the DAC Orange, but you note beside there I have at a supportive level. In the DDA, we have the GI Pro 3 in a level that I say is therapeutic, right? We've got every day, this is the total amount that they need in order to help with the breaking down the link between those bad bacteria in the hindgut. In the DAC Orange and the other vitamins and minerals, it's in a supportive level. So don't be afraid of combining this with a product like the DDA. So I've got a couple of examples here. This is a ration balancing program for any of you new here that Dr. Duran developed. And we use it because I think sometimes it's easier to see the diet in pictures versus me just tell you, well, everything's being met in the diet or it's not. So I've just got a 1,000-pound horse doing moderate exercise. So just say this is your buggy horse. And I'm feeding it orchard grass hay. Now I will say this is good quality hay. And I'm feeding it 2% of its body weight, so 20 pounds of hay. And on the far side there, I guess, I'm feeding it oats. I'm feeding 3 pounds of oats. And in order for all of these bars here, these upright bars, to touch that dark red line there, which means that 100% of these nutrients that are listed down the bottom are met in the diet, like energy and protein and copper and zinc and calcium and phosphorus, selenium. We want all of these critical nutrients to be met in the diet. And so with 3 ounces of DAC Orange, with our straight grain and hay diet, this diet we would consider balanced. But we do have a lot of folks that also will feed a commercial concentrate. But not always do they feed it according to the label, the manufacturer's recommendations. There's only one nutrient that we can actually see when we look at a horse, and that's calories. You can see whether you fed him enough energy or you didn't. He's either fat, thin, or just right. But you can't see if you fed him enough copper or zinc or selenium. You can see calories. And so oftentimes we make feeding choices and feeding how much grain based on his body weight. And so in this scenario, maybe the feeding recommendation of this particular product for this horse, for them to get all the vitamins and minerals, was 6 pounds, but he's maintaining his body weight at 3 pounds. So I'm feeding him 3 pounds. And you can see that by feeding just a little bit of half the amount of the DAC Orange, the diet is balanced. Now, if you look at your catalog, or even the feeding directions on any of the labels, it will say, when fed with unfortified grains, this is the feeding rate. So an unfortified grain would be something like oats. When fed with a fortified grain, fortified means it's got some vitamins and minerals in there. It's probably a commercial concentrate or maybe something that your mill is making, and they put some minerals in there, but you're not feeding it to the amount that you need, then contact me and we'll work out how much you need to add to your diet. The Breeder's Choice Plus. We've made some significant improvements to this product that I think put it up into this top 5, top 6 category. Again, it's a mineral and vitamin product to balance broodmares and stallions. We added the marine calcium, that really bioavailable calcium that looks like a honeycomb. And so it's really good. We talk about it a lot for stomach health, gut health, and buffering stomach acid. But I've also told you that it's really bioavailable. And so the benefits for bone density in those young growing horses. There's a lot of research that's looked at bone density. So we chose to put the marine calcium in here, and then Chemtrace chromium. We've got the Chemin folks here. This is the only FDA-approved chromium source that's for use in horses. Chromium, I won't go, again, into all the details, but how it works is when you feed it to horses, it's a highly bioavailable organic mineral, and it's going to help your horse unlock more energy. That's the most simple way of putting it. There's a lot more that goes into it, but why would that help a mare or stallion? Why would that help with reproduction? It can improve conception rates and pregnancy rates. It can reduce the days to first service, and it can increase the number of oocytes, viable eggs. These are all things that are really, really important in broodmares and a broodmare operation. It also improves immune function, and we all know that foals are born with very limited immune function. So if we can get that dam, that mother, to have heightened immune system, she's going to pass that on to her foal, right? Immune cells sit there dormant, and when they get activated, the energy source that they need is glucose, and that is what chromium is helping the body get more of, glucose. So again, the organic minerals, the organic selenium, 100% natural vitamin E, and the probiotics and the GI Pro 3 in the supportive dose. Same thing, 20 pounds of orchard grass hay to a mare in late pregnancy, 3 pounds of oats, and the recommended amount of Breeder's Choice Plus is 3 ounces. This is good quality hay. Let's say we were feeding 3 pounds of a commercial concentrate, should have been fed at 6 pounds, then I've balanced this diet with just 2 ounces of Breeder's Choice Plus. So we've got flexibility with these products as well. The Cool Gut. Out of all the DAC products, I'm probably the most proud of this one because I had so much involvement with it. But designed to support gastric health. You know that you've heard, we are a member of NASC, the little yellow logo there. And one of the good things, NASC does a lot of great things, but they keep us honest in that a drug treats a disease and a supplement supports horses' health, gut health, joint health, but it doesn't treat a disease. And so we're not really supposed to use the word ulcer or gastric ulcer when you're talking about a supplement. Cool Gut helps to support normal stomach pH. So we know with horses that get gastric disorder, one of the big things that happens in horses when we ride them and stress them and keep them in stalls and meal feed them is the acid will increase in their stomach, and that can cause negative impacts, right? So the Cool Gut has that marine-derived calcium that's going to help to buffer that stomach acid. It also has ingredients that help with the intestinal lining in the hindgut. So when I developed this product with Dr. Durham, we wanted it to work in the stomach and the hindgut. There are so many products on the market that you could buy for the stomach or for the hindgut, but there are very few that you could use in both places. So we developed this product to have ingredients in it that would work in the stomach and hindgut together. So that marine-derived calcium to buffer acid, it buffers acid in the stomach and the hindgut. The YESAC, which we have in a lot of our products, has always been one of our foundation probiotics. It helps stabilize that acid, but it also helps to support those microbes that are living in the hindgut. L-glutamine, gut repair, immune cell function. Glycine helps with inflammation and tissue repair. Moss, that was also in our Rescue Aid and DDA, binds those harmful bacteria. FOS is another ingredient that helps with those beneficial bacteria. And then DHA that we talked about in the oil is an anti-inflammatory. And so Cool Gut has been one of our top sellers since it's been put on the market because it addresses gut health, which is one of the biggest problems that we have in horses, this increase in acidity in our performance horses. Now the Bloom, it was a toss-up between Cool Gut and Bloom, and that's why I said I got to put 6 in. The Bloom is in the top 6. Hair quality, top line support, and weight gain are the key elements when you're selling the Bloom. It's also got organic minerals. It's got biotin for hair quality. So people always ask me, what is the difference between oil and Bloom? Why do I feed one over the other? Oil is straight fat. And I told you how it's going to lubricate that hair shaft and make it shiny. but it doesn't have any ingredients in it that will repair damaged hair quality, all right? But the bloom has biotin, it has zinc methionine. These ingredients are going to repair the hair quality. Zinc methionine, which is a mineral we get from another partner called Zinpro, has done actually a lot of work in dogs that have big fluffy hair coats, looking at research by feeding zinc methionine versus inorganic sources of zinc, and the coat's much